Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, and as well, bonjour mes amis, because today this is the presentation of the second rank 7 tank for the French. Now if you think, well, this is the very same weapon system as with the German Napalmratte 1, yes, you are probably right. But since the response for my Leclerc video, or on my Leclerc video, was so nice, and for a change I was congratulated on my pronunciation, yes, I know, I think that, for a little bit of a thank you for something nice, for a change, I present you this tank once again, with many more helicopters to go with. But there is another thing, and this was a test. Maybe the experience that you have with this tank in game might be a little bit different to the German one, since it is just simply a different nation, because you are just allying with some other nations more often, and maybe the enemy teams kind of offer more targets for you to shoot at, and maybe your team just pulls off better strategic placements, so you can just lean back and keep the air clean. And that was just an attempt to kind of reduce a video in the same manner as my gold versus silver video, which was a very long time ago, where I compared, for example, the German premium P47 in the game experience sense to the American P47s. And that shall be another topic of this tank. So I want to briefly talk about this tank. I briefly want to talk about its weapon systems and its statistics, not in the sense of a full-fledged tank review, because it's just, as you will see, a lot of things are average and not really worth talking about that much or that important, rather than what you are actually do with this. And I have a lot, and I mean a lot of footage. A lot of them is really breathtaking for all the wrong reasons, but not me being really bad. I have to hasten to add this because a lot of people are deliberately misunderstanding me all the time. So yeah, after making 1,000 videos, I know how YouTube works most of the time, except if I upload a fish video, because then my entire channel gets demonetized, but that's a different story for another day. So yeah, I think the tank is not really that pretty to look at, but is it functional, and what kind of conditions are there to be fulfilled is part of, well, part 2 of this video, where I have to warn you because there will be strong language, maybe a little bit of swearing, profanity, you name it. And if you are a little bit a light-hearted guy that is not really interested in hearing this, or you take offense at this and can't take an honest, direct opinion, then you better watch another video of mine, or you're just better off watching not my channel at all. But this might go into an extreme way, and I have, as I said, some breathtaking footage for it. So without further ado, let's go finally into the video. So let's have a quick look at the tank itself, and the armor goes from 30 to 15 millimeter from the front to the side, and deck is 10 millimeters, and from the front of the turret it's between 15 and 10 millimeters, so you're not even 50 caliber safe. The interior is that we have on the side, right next to the gunner, which sits in the turret with its head, all the reserve missiles, of which we have 8, and the other 2, the driver and the commander, sit right in the front of the tank, and the power pack is in the back. So nothing really unusual right there. When we then have a look at the modifications, we can see that the tank is relatively stock grind friendly, if you ask me, and the stock Roland 1 or Roland 1 or Roland 1 SAM, or surface to air missile, is actually not bad. 900 meters per second maximum speed on the trajectory is completely acceptable. 6.3 kilometer range is more to shoot down helicopters from their spawn, and the TNT equivalent of the bursting charge of composite B is 4.32 kilograms with a fuse sensitivity of 0.1 millimeters of this proximity fuse warhead. Arming distance is 300 millimeters. The theoretical penetration value of the bursting charge is 38 millimeters of steel, but we'll come to this in just a moment. The Roland 3 or Roland 3 is then a tier 2 upgrade, and it costs 1,300 silver lines per missile. Speed is the same, 900 meters per second, 8.5 kilometers of range, which is better, but not really that much more useful, and the TNT equivalent of the bursting charge goes up to 5.83 kilograms, which is kind of a lot. Fuse sensitivity with 0.1 millimeters and arming distance with 300 meters stay the same, and the theoretical penetration value goes up to 48 millimeters. So those are pretty good SAMs. They mostly kill with one shot. If you get the hit in good enough, then that is the result, as you can observe in the background. And to rack up the kills is always nice. So especially if the enemy flies in a predictable line, you can easily get them, well, easily. The other thing is that the tank just lacks any other sort of secondary weapon. No light machine gun, no heavy machine gun, no coaxial 20mm or any sort like this, no armor, no protection in terms of era or composites anyway, and your mobility with a horsepower to ton ratio just below 22, well, you will go to places fairly quickly, but you will not win Le Mans anytime soon. And the most decisive factor comes in right at the start of a match, because this is when you get the most easy shots. So the tank is completely usable for a match. Overall, you have 10 SAMs. You can reload them in the capture zone fairly decently, with a reasonable speed, I'd say. But you are just not capable of helping out your teammates, and even the lightest armor on an enemy tank will screw with your HE penetration after the HE pen nerf in this patch, which makes me kind of sad. So when we compare this tank to some other nations' SPA, some great differences actually arise. So while this tank is perfectly fine at shooting down helicopters at long distances with or without the lock-on, as I said, which can be bugged at times, there is also the problem of the short range usability. For example, if an aircraft is pulling up massively, your missile just can't follow here the G-turn. And also when the aircraft transits, for example, from the left to the right on your screen, then it is also pretty difficult to hit the missile. If a plane flies away from you, if a plane comes towards you, or at a rather shallow angle, then you still can perfectly shoot them down, again, if you have the radar lock on or if you're very skilled with the manual guidance. And this is where some other nations' SPA don't have those problems. For example, the Tunguska, the ADATs and the automatic are perfectly capable of dealing with enemy aircraft at short range and also helicopters at short range. The next thing is, even if you use the missiles, much like with the Flak-Patz 1, you have to reload after 2 missiles. And the pure duration of this reload process, which looks absolutely cool, but it costs you probably kills, like on this tank that I could have shot down easily with the ADATs, with the automatic, or with the Tunguska. But here I failed him because he decapped the capture point and crashed in the process. And so you have a limited amount of missiles, and also when the last missile is in the air, you cannot immediately reload. You also cannot reload if only one missile is fired. Both missiles on the launcher have to be fired for you to be able to reload, which is incredibly annoying. And when you deal with the first helicopter or the first plane and then a very long time nothing happens, well, you either waste another missile and you only have 10 of them, or you try your very best to make use of this one missile and then hope that not a second plane immediately arrives afterwards. And this also got me killed 1 or 2 times. So this is only the restrictions at short range, and even if there are multiple enemies in the air. The next thing is the short range gun firepower. For example, as I said, the ADATs and also the automatic alongside the Tunguska can deal very nicely with some incoming planes, helicopters, or even tanks. And this anti-tank capabilities is something that again is massively hindered. Now at first glance you might say, oh, but you know, it's not so much a problem because I'm a dedicated anti-aircraft vehicle. Yeah, that is true, but the ADATs and the automatic and the Tunguska also play this role. Very often they play this role better and also have significantly better, more reliable and deadly anti-tank capabilities, and they are not so much bound to go from the second line of defense to go into the cab to refill the ammunition. In many cases, also Tunguska and the ADATs in particular have 8 launchers right from the get-go, and they reload the single missile faster than you reload the 2. And they don't have to waste missiles, they have the missiles always ready, so if the first and second missile miss, you don't have to go through the reload process. And this is where we just simply have to have a look at the missiles themselves and their anti-tank capabilities. But before this, again, I try here my best with shooting down the 3rd helicopter, but he just doesn't want to give me the kill. So I go here for this one, and again you could see the lock-on bug, and so I'm guiding the missile in manually and have much more reliable success under those conditions. And then can we go for this kill as well? And this time I used the lock-on, but he hovered nicely and steadily. Easy kill. So that was the 3rd kill, and that was the end of the match. Let's have a brief look at the results, and there we can see for the 3 kills, 25,700 silver lines and 4,700 vehicle research points for no caps, 3 kills, no assists, etc. Now let's talk about the anti-tank capabilities. So I've prepared here some scenes for just pure demonstration purposes, and I've come across here the Type 16, the Japanese wheeled tank destroyer. And I shoot here at the side. Now you can see that this high explosive gets completely absorbed by the ERA protection, and even the second shot gets absorbed by it, and now I reload. Were those bad shots? Well, I actually didn't know that he had ERA protection actually attached to the vehicle, you know, stock grind, blah blah blah. I also wanted to test tanks, rockets or missile capabilities, and now I'm aiming for the wheels. And this is where it then gets interesting, because the side splash is still strong. It's just the forward splash that got heavily nerfed. Now another example is here this, and the visibility is really bad, but the M163's side armor hold up to 48 millimeters of HE penetration. That thing doesn't have 48 millimeters of armor, so I should get the kill. Let's try this once again, and again the armor absorbed all the damage. It's not even rolled homogeneous armor, it's some light alloy. And even the 3rd ATGM doesn't really do the job. So you kind of see this is not a thing versus top tier main battle tanks. This is versus very lightly armored enemy SPA or lightly armored tank destroyers, something like this. Let's try our luck once more, and let's see if this goes better right now. And again we have here very limited visibility, but I try once more, and again this time I hit the turret and then it splashes sideways down, but not forward. This example is one of my favorites. So I track here this Abrams, and then I have his pure underbelly exposed, and he can't shoot at me. What a perfect guinea pig this guy is, right? And the underbelly has 38.1 millimeters. Again, I have 48 millimeters, and the HE damage does not go through. It doesn't go through, and even with this missile it doesn't really work. And that is just disgusting, to be honest, because I completely outskilled him, and there was nothing that I could do him, and now he killed me. So that's the reward for my efforts for going forwards. Another example though is then a different experience. if you aim for the roof. There is a helipad to A4, and we try our luck here, going in cover, exposing a minimal amount of hitting area. We hit the cupola or the vision port and it splashes down. Now if you want to have a look at this again, let's take this example on the enemy automatic. Missile is out and we get the kill. Let's now try to understand what was actually happening, and for that we need to have a closer look at it. So the missile comes in and hits the turret with 25mm of armor, but doesn't penetrate it, splashes rather down sideways to the 30mm of deck plating, and then ignites ammo. And this is a direct nerf to the HE penetration mechanics, and this is very, very bad for this tank because it doesn't have any other weaponry to punish even obvious mistakes by enemies. Let's take this helipad to K for an example. He's completely oblivious to my presence. I'm behind this bush. I ping the map for the rest of my team, but even they will not see this guy, and he can fire freely without me being able to do anything. As you can see, he drives very closely and he doesn't see me. By the way, I stopped the radar, which might actually help this. And I have the back of his turret very thinly armored, right? And 2 missiles are there. Let's have a look at how this works. Missile 1, absolutely no damage, not even the engine is damaged. And the second missile did also nothing. And he still has no idea where this was coming from, and I can freely reload. But if I would have a 25mm cannon, I could have sawed through him. If I have the Tunguska's 30mm, I could have sawed through him. If I would have the ADAT's tandem warheads, I could have sawed through him. But now he sees me and, yeah, inevitable. So this is now the end of part 1 of this video, and part 2 is starting right now. But before I go right into this and showing you the madness of high tier and how broken it is with some stunning footage and some nice explanation, I have to warn you that there might be swearing, profanity, bad language, all the things. So this is now your chance to turn off the video. You have been warned, and here we go. And we begin right with this example. I just spawned, and on the radar I see the first contact of a helicopter just starting from his launch pad. And I launched a missile across the entire battlefield, and he has just no time nor any sort of place to hide, and I get first strike. There is nothing that this guy could do. He didn't really do anything wrong aside from spawning. But I am in the open, and the map design, well, from this side of the map I am down to campus. But hey, another match, very same situation, just different map. First helicopter, down, first strike. Well done, Napalm, you're such a skilled player. Then the helicopter number 2, also starting in the other direction. They did everything right, but still, it doesn't really matter because I have now a little bit of experience. And they couldn't do anything, but you know what, I just get rock, paper, scissors just right now because I also don't have a place to go. Thank you very much, Gaijin. This shit show ain't over yet. And this is the race for the first strike. We see a radar contact behind the ridgeline, so the radar is going through this ridgeline, and there is a helicopter right at the start, and I was eager to get there and launch my missile a few seconds earlier than the guy next to me because there are not that many targets, and I got first strike. And this person is now dead. He doesn't have enough spawn points to spawn even an SPA or any sort of tank or anything. I killed him dead. But hey, do you think I have mercy with helicopters? Well, let's have a look at this. Oh, another one is starting from their helipad. I spawn camped them right there, and that's first strike. But now I have to reload, and that's the problem because the next one is behind this ridgeline, and it takes the time for me to reload. He kills not 1, not 2, but in fact 3 tanks before I can rebalance this guy. And I was very lucky that he wasn't looking at me. He's hovering at over the ridgeline, but it doesn't really matter. I kill him anyways. What the fuck is this shit show, man? And here on another map, I just spawned. There is no way to go. I'm just looking for helicopters, trying to do my job to rebalance those poor bastards. Nobody there. Oh, what a pity. Not much that I can do. I tried to go into cover, and You know, that's not gonna work in this game, does it? Right from the very start, cross-mapped. This is the shit top tier experience that you waste months of your lifetime on to get there. But there are also maps, city maps, and you might think, well, maybe the experience there is better, but you don't get a helicopter radar lock-on between skyscrapers. Sometimes you do because, you know, it's War Thunder. But I work here for my kill. I reposition, I go to the edge of the map, quite literally, and I await here the helicopter. And I want to rebalance him, because that's just my job, right? And I skillfully get him. But here, the other example is that the map design is so brutally brain dead that right here, just in a few seconds time, enemy tanks will come by, in this case one, on their run to spawn camp. And again, unlike the edits, unlike the Tunguska, unlike the automatic, I cannot do anything against them. What a shit show is that. And it is so frustrating having this experience over and over again. Yes, in theory it is rock, paper, scissors. But it is not equal, because there is nothing match deciding I can do in this thing aside from shooting down helicopters. So that's the first tank in our spawn, and the second tank is around the rock. Already observing the spawn zone. I'm pinging the map, I'm talking to my team here in chat, but they don't see it because they are busy rushing through the middle of the map to the enemy's spawn zone. What a shit show it is. And everybody participates here. You're as guilty as me. We're all participating here. And again, the only one that really profits from this still broken system is Gaijin. I want Gaijin to earn all the money that there is. They can have as much money as they want from me. But I want a functional game where game mechanics mean something, where stats on the stat card mean something. Again, 48 millimeters of penetration. Let's have a look if I have those 48 millimeters of HE penetration against any angle at any distance like it is advertised versus this, I don't know, KPZ. Back of the turret where the MRAC is, nothing, no damage whatsoever. And that leads to my death. This guy, spawn camping our team, is now warned that I'm behind him. And I have no reliable anti-tank capabilities. And before I can get in the second missile, I get killed by AP FSDS. So let's partially summarize here this entire shit show. We have an imbalance between the nations. The same vehicles have not even closely the same kind of anti-tank and anti-aircraft capabilities between the nations. But they have the same battle rating and the same repair cost, making them effectively equal. You can spawn camp helicopters right from the start, but if you don't this, they just annihilate your team if you let them go freely around. But then in this tank, like with the German one, and also to a certain degree the British one, there is nothing that it can do against tanks. Not even if they completely misplay. Only lucky shots, only repetitive hits, etc. And that is the reward for this 390,000 RP tank. And then the system, the radar doesn't work properly, and it simulates here also the faultiness at low altitude. But even if you manually guide in the missiles, you get sparks like this, sparks with SAMs, not a little tiny Minengeschoss from a German 20mm or a Hispano or an Aiden cannon or anything like this, or a 50 cal. No, this is a over 5 kilogram heavy TNT warhead going off next to an aircraft, not even registering a hit. But then, if I just shoot blindly into the trees, just using here the aiming reticle, I get a kill. Watch. And the shit show is endless. So many more examples can be posted, but the video would become way too long. I have certainly enough footage. Oh, another kill. How nice. So, at the essence, it is a failed game at its top. Top tier is not desirable. That's the worst thing that you can say to a game. That top tier is unfun. Top tier is boring. Top tier is repetitive. Top tier is punishing for actual trying. And it punishes all the guys that want to have a good go at the enemy team. It punishes people that move forward. It punishes people that do not camp. It is just absolutely stupid how the maps get abused here by long range cross map fire, not just by APFSDS but also by SAMs, spawn camping helicopters, spawn camping tanks from your own spawn. It has become as bad as in naval forces, and that is already a dead end thanks to the addition of PGO2, etc. It is an absolute shit show, and the reason for all this is hastily development. No quality control, no fixes of issues, and the team that is responsible for fixing stuff seems way too small. They seem to be completely overworked, and I feel sorry for the workers at Gaijin, for the true workers, because what their work is used for is an absolute shit show, and it's down to the fact that the responsible people at Gaijin are not playing their game, but instead are counting the money that they have milked the player base from. This is not how it's supposed to work. This is not a good sign, and at some point we will come to a dead end. Gaijin has already successfully driven away many successful and big YouTubers, streamers, and if you look at Twitch, War Thunder has a very low viewer base because it's not enjoyable to watch, despite the best efforts and the best skills of the streamers. New game modes, such as convoy mode, just disappear, and during confrontation is a rare sight, and the World War mode development, that's an entire disaster by itself, still. And yet, they're just pushing out unfinished, unchecked content. It is fucking disgusting. And you, all you here, are helping Gaijin out by playing there what you actually don't like. Many of you don't like this, but you feel like you have to play it because you have spent already so much time at the game. You have invested already so much money. You kind of like it. And I love the game. I see behind this curtain of failure. I see what the game could be with just minor adjustments here and there. Easy fixes. But those fixes are not made because the people in charge, the people with the power to make those changes, have absolutely no idea that they are necessary. They have absolutely no idea that they are desperately wanted by portions of the community, and they are desperately needed for a balance throughout the nations. It is always only one faction that is in a really good state, and then the next patch it changes. Look at the first Abrams, completely irrelevant now. It is not unusable, it's not a bad tank per se, but its armor, once the strongest in the game, is now completely useless. Its gun, once just overall the best and the best to use, is now below average. There is a tank at the same battle rating, the Ariete, that has nearly twice the penetration with the APFSDS. This is FUBAR, fucked up beyond the recognition. I love the game, but sometimes a little bit of a clearing thunderstorm has to be delivered. I don't want to insult here anybody at Gaijin, but please play this game that you develop. Where is the spirit gone? The early days of War Thunder, where there was so much potential, even more potential than right now. And you wasted it, you wasted it, you wasted it. You just starved this project like absolute madman. Because apparently, the money that you earn is enough, but it could be even more with a happier, bigger, and satisfied customer player base. But no, this shit show is all that you deliver, and that is pathetic. And we will run into a dead end when there are no more modern tanks to add. when you can't extend, when you add actually the tanks that are right now in service with all the wrong armor and penetration values. Then, finally then, after that, nothing comes more, and maybe then you go back to the glorious stages where it began, with balanced gameplay, with good working game mechanics. Maybe you should test stuff before you release it. Look at your competitive side. What a shit show this was because you didn't check your own drama in the Thunder Cup, because I knew what was going to happen, but even I didn't anticipate it to become that much of a failure. I feel sorry for all the hard-working people that make good stuff, the sound design, the graphic department, all those aspects of War Thunder are so well done. 99% of the game is just absolutely awesome. It works, it looks good, it sounds good. But then, there is 1% disgusting shit in there that ruins the rest. You could be already forgiven to think that I feel pity for helicopters, that I feel sorry for them, and that I would have some sort of mercy with them. But the matter of fact is, their system is designed for abuse. They are designed for screwing up the enemy team, if there isn't an SPA. And while this kind of rock-paper system kind of works, effectively it doesn't. Because the one rock in one nation is only capable of defeating the paper. But the rock in the other nation screws with rock, paper and scissors alike. And that system still produces a lot of money for Gaijin, but for me it doesn't produce happiness. But I present it to you because some of you are interested, because some of you want to know how to play it and if it's worth the grind. And if only a few of you can be repelled from playing top tier, from going for this madness, and I could save you time, then that's worth the video. Even though making it took literally days, getting the footage and just editing it. And that's it for me today. So you can let me know in the comment section your thoughts and if you agree or disagree. I'm interested to know your opinion. So that's it for me today.